Hello everyone, welcome back to Susie Saves. I am Susie, and today we are going to look at our weekly budget for the second week of 2026. I hope your 2026 has been going well. Here we go. So, for those of you who may not know me, hello, my name is Susie. We are a dual income household of me and my husband, and we do cash stuffing every week. So we get paid bi-weekly, but we get paid on alternate weeks, which has been fantastic. And so we make a monthly budget and then we make a weekly budget, and we just make sure that we are following the flow of our finances. So without further ado, let's jump on into it. This week we received my paycheck, our insurance. So technically, this is very odd, but technically I make quite a bit more than my husband. However, all of our insurance comes out of my paycheck. I also have a 10% 401k contribution that I can make, so it drastically lowers the amount of take-home income for me. So it was $1,595 that we took home this week from my paycheck. So that is what we will be working with this week to get things done. So let's begin. First, we're gonna go through our non-variable expenses. So these are the expenses that are the exact same every month or every week or however often you pay them. So for us, our recurring expenses is rent, internet, and electric. Our rent is $800 a month, so we put in $200 a week. Our internet is about $90 to $95 a month, so we put in $23. And then our electricity bill so far has been under $200, so we've been putting away $50 a week to that. It will be higher in the summer, so we'll be looking at moving this pretty soon, probably in April, putting a little bit more money towards that because we pay the previous month's electricity with the next month's money. Anyway, so we just need to set ourselves up to succeed when that bigger bill comes in. Next we're going to talk about variable expenses. So my favorite variable expense to talk about is gas. So do you drive more than normal this week? Are gas prices up? Which car do you drive? All of these little everyday things can change how much money you owe on gas. So it's the most variable thing in our household because sometimes gas can be down to closer to $2, sometimes it's up above $3. So it just varies. For us, we have small cars that are pretty fuel efficient. They're older cars. So we budget $50 for each of us per week. My husband does not always drive enough to fill his car every week. I definitely do. So we just always plan for spending it rather than not spending it. Then we have groceries. Groceries gets $75. This used to be $50, and then with prices rising as well as trying to eat healthier, it just wasn't enough money. I think groceries is a big one where people could cut back. We do a lot of couponing for our groceries. We only buy meat when it's on sale. We do a lot of meatless meals if need be, stuff like that. But I really do feel like groceries is the one where people can really balloon out their budget. So if you're looking to try and set a budget for your groceries and you're like, I don't even know how much money is enough, I would go to the grocery store like usual. Just go, spend the money, whatever. Come home, look at the receipt, and then start crossing off things. Cross off, we don't buy this every week. Cross that off. So if you buy meat and you have a fridge full of meat and you're like, actually, next week we don't need to buy meat. Maybe I don't need to buy meat every week. You can cross those off. You can cross off snacks that you don't want anymore or that have gotten too expensive. So if you normally just go and you're like, oh, granola bars, toss them in the car. and then you go and you grab the box of granola bars and you look at the receipt and you're like, oh my God, this was like $8. I don't think this is worth that. Then you can cross those things off and not get them the next week. So you can just look at what you're already doing and scale back. I wouldn't go into the grocery store with a set budget without doing that, because you're not going to be able to buy the right things that you need to sustain your family through the week. Next, we have a miscellaneous category. I used to not have a miscellaneous category. I thought it was kind of uncalled for, but every time I've tried to remove it, I've needed it. And it's better to have and not need than need and not have. So we did scale this back. It now gets $10 a week. And then if we don't spend that, we will just roll that over into the next week. Next is subscriptions. We have 3. Our monthly subscriptions are Crunchyroll, Netflix, and YouTube Premium. All of these are about $20 a month, which is $5 a week. We used to not have any subscriptions. We've been slowly building them up as we've gained more money and trying to see what matters to us. We still currently use all of these at least once a week, so I think that is fine. So we continue to pay for them. We might, no, yeah, I don't see us getting rid of or not using any of these in the near future, but we shall see. And then last but not least is we have spending money. That is totally not tracked at all for me and my husband, and that is $50 a piece. So this is money, this stemmed from my husband feeling guilty around spending money. So I would give him money or put money in his binder or do whatever, and he would always be like, is this for bills? Is this for bills? Is this okay to spend? And he'd be coming to me asking me, hey, I'm going to buy this thing. Is that okay? And all of this stuff. And it just was very stressful for him. And he's a diseased boy, and stress is very, very bad for his disease. So we were seeing like health and medical complications with the stress. And I said, hey, we're stopping this. We're not going to continue to do this. Instead, when we got married, we joined accounts. We made a new checking account that is attached to 2 cards. He has 1 card, I have 1 card. It's from the same account. I said, every week, I'm going to put $50 into this account, and that is yours to spend. Here is your card. This is what you're doing. And then he said, what if I want to buy something more at $50? I was like, well, you can wait 2 weeks, or you can look in the account. You don't have to track every little thing you buy and be like, well, I bought bread and then I bought chips at work, and I think I'm probably around like $43. I was like, that's like a lot to do. So I had to try and kind of mind shift with him. So I was like, for example, if we're at a Mexican restaurant and they bring us chips for the table, and I eat some chips and you eat some chips, but technically there's 2 of us, so we should split the chips in half. What if you're more hungry than me one day? What if I'm more hungry? Is it okay to take more of the chips even though half is yours? And so he was kind of understanding that, like, we're a team now. That was kind of what I was trying to convey, was that there are going to be times where you want to buy more expensive things and maybe technically dip into my side of this money, but this is our money. It's not his versus mine. So I was trying to really get that through to him, like, this is ours. And then I just told him, like, if I do see that you're spending a lot of money that I had plans for or something, like, we can talk out about bigger expenses. That would be like multiple hundreds of dollars expenses, not $50. But I said, we can talk about those, and then if we both agree, we can do that. Because there's also going to be times where we want to buy something for both of us, right? So Nintendo Switch, for example, if we wanted to buy one to play Mario Kart together on the big TV, are we going to go into this account and be like, oh, well, technically you don't have enough money in this account, you only have $100 and the rest is mine because you spent whatever. It's like, no, we're not gonna worry with that. Is the money there in the account? Do we both consent to the purchase? Then we will buy it. So that is kind of what we have decided to do. It's been fantastic. We have not had any worries with it. We even went on a trip with this money. I do know that I tend not to spend money out of this account. My husband tends to spend the money out of this account, but I do know that if I had wanted something, that the money would be there for it. It wouldn't be an issue. So it's been slowly but surely getting up in numbers because I don't spend money out of it. So I do know that I need to spend some money out of it. Or, I mean, it is my $50 to spend, so I could spend it doing savings, but I try not to do that because it is spending money. So anyway, that's what we do if you're looking for a solution with your spending in your life. But we're going to go ahead and count up all of our budget for this week. Did I forget something? I did forget something. We also give ourselves dining money to go out and eat. That is $50. Because normally we can either buy like 2 pizzas a week from like Domino's or something, go out to a small restaurant, or we could wait and then in 2 weeks we'd have $100 to spend. We can go to like a slightly more elevated meal. Sorry, I just know my budget, so I was like, we are low for our expenses in a way that I think is incorrect. Okay, so that means this budget this week is $623. I'm going to see how much of our paycheck that is. 40%, 39%. Sorry, rounded that wrong. So we do not technically look over the percents and make sure it's in X amount of percent. Technically, the official advice is no more than 60% of your income should go to expenses, but we're not near that because we don't have car payments or anything like that we need to pay for. But I think it's good to keep track of, especially because with the new insurance and stuff, my income is lower than it was before, so just making sure on that. Skip savings real quick, come down to sinking funds. These are pockets of money we put away for a specific purpose. So, for example, car insurance and phone bill. So these are bills that I pay once a year, but I don't want to suddenly forget about them and then come December, knock, 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 you owe $700 for this thing, and I have to try and cash flow it or pull the money from somewhere else. Instead, I just put a little bit of money in here every week, and we will slowly gain up to that expense over time. Because we've put $15 in per week, we can pay that no problem. Next is pets. Then we have gifts, car maintenance, and health. So these are my sinking funds. You can have more, you can have less, depending on what's important to you and what you're doing in your life. For pets is getting $10. We will be moving this up at the end of the month because they are going to have their yearly vet appointment for their rabies shots and their annual visit and stuff like that. So we'll want to make sure that our pet binder is fully funded with $500 to pay for that appointment. Gifts is getting $10. The next birthday we have isn't until middle of next month, so we have plenty of time to get some money together for a gift for that person. We actually already have that funded, I think, but just in case. Car maintenance is getting $50. This is because we are still under our minimum threshold. I would like $1,000 in there for emergencies, so like towing, tire pop, something like that. And it's a little down from the car maintenance that we just did at the end of the year. So just trying to build that back up. And then health is getting $10. This is mostly for supplements, health shakes. It can also be for medicine, depending on what the weekly need is. And that is $110 in our sinking funds. It's fine. There we go. For debt, we do not need to worry. We do not have any outstanding debts, so we do not need to worry about that. Which means we can go through here and decide how much we're doing for savings. Because we are zero-based budgeters, we want to make sure that this zeroes out at the very end. So we got in $1,595. We have spent, we're predicted to spend $623 on expenses and $110 on sinking funds. This leaves us with $862 to put towards our savings. Except it doesn't, everyone, because we had a family emergency this week. So I'm still gonna put the $2 here into the buffer, but because we had a family emergency, we pooled from our emergency fund. This was kind of hard for us to do, and we kind of debated for a while of where to pull this money from, but it was an emergency, so it went from the emergency fund. Everything is fine. It actually turned out to be totally fine. It was just a lot of money to figure out it was fine, which is slightly funny because so this is what happened. I woke up Friday morning, and I was getting ready for work, and our male cat, he's 9 years old, his name is Samson, he looked off. He was laying on the floor, just like dozing in and out, like trying to get comfy to go to bed. And I don't know how to describe it, but his eyes and his face, he just looked sickly. Like he just looked like he wasn't feeling well. So I went over to him and I was talking to him and I was just kind of watching, and he started like, I don't know if spasm is the right word, but he had twitches in his back legs, and when they hit, he like put his claws out, and I was like, that's a indication of pain. If you didn't know, is like, oof. You know how you like sometimes you stub your toe and you like clench up, you're like, it's kind of like that response. So I called the emergency vet and I told them some things. So I did know he got into the bread cabinet, and he ate a whole bunch of bread out of our bread cabinet. I was worried he had eaten plastic because we have bread wrapped in plastic. That's how we sell it. So I was worried that when he ate through the plastic to get to the bread that he actually like would have swallowed and ingested it. So I was worried about like an intestinal blockage. And he, like I said, he just wasn't acting right. So I called the vet, the emergency tech vet, and she said, I agree. Your symptoms sound serious enough that I would bring him in. So we brought him in. He got x-rays, he got blood work, and he got medicine. So first off, it was an emergency vet, so they're gonna be more expensive. We got x-rays. We got 7 x-rays, I think. We got medicine. He had to be sedated for the x-rays, and then he had they gave him a subcutaneous injection of water, or like a saline solution, hydrating solution in his back. So that's all that we did. Come to find out, he is constipated. There is an ongoing joke in the pet owners cat community that there comes a time in every cat owner's life where you spend a whole bunch of money to find out your cat's constipated. But it can be pretty serious, so you do want to make sure that, you know, if you don't know, then you can't help. So I was overall happy that we took him in. He's fine now. Everything has passed. We followed the instructions, so it's more looking at long-time care, making sure that this doesn't continue to be a problem, because we don't really know why it happened in the first place. So maybe moving to only wet food. Right now he does 1 wet food, 1 dry food meal a day, but maybe moving just to wet food. And I think he's gonna be having a little bit of Miralax in one of his meals going forward, but I'll talk to his primary vet. That was very expensive. Like I said, we did a whole bunch of stuff. So we pooled, it was $1,722. So we pulled that out of our emergency fund. And then we're just going to use this week and next week to replenish that money. And then we will start again with our Roth IRA contributions as well as our savings contributions. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be looking at restuffing our emergency fund and just making sure that all of that is squared away, and then we can get back to what we were doing. So luckily, we are in a place where this didn't financially destroy us. But I do encourage you, right? If this happened to you, if you suddenly had a $1,700 bill to pay tomorrow or today, I guess, I didn't have time to prepare. So if right now someone said, you owe me $1,700, what would you do? Where would you pull that money from? Do you have it? Do you not have it? Would you have to get a credit card or a loan? We're very lucky. Like I said, we set us up really well last year with our emergency funds. So this luckily did not derail any of our plans, but I was thinking about this myself, because if this had happened 2 years ago, I would not have been able to pay for it. So I was thinking myself, like, what would I have done? And I said, well, I'm 1 month ahead on rent, so I could have used that. That was $800. But what if I wasn't? What if I wasn't 1 month ahead? What if I was living paycheck to paycheck? You could ask a family member. Do you know a family member? Do you have a family member that if they came to you and asked you for $1,700 that you would give it to them? Do you have it to give to someone? Do you think someone would have gave it to you? Would you open a credit card? Would you have to take out a loan? Like how would that have affected you? So it was kind of eye-opening, because when she brought the bill in, I was like, oh, that is a lot of money. But I kind of very quickly was like, okay, that's how much it is. Like, I took in the shock, and then I said, great, let's move forward, let's continue, and this is how much it's going to be. But I do think about, like, if I didn't have it, I don't know what I would have done. So it's very it's very retroflective to look back at these things and think about stuff like that. So I do encourage you to see, I think this is a good test of, like, where are you in your finances? What needs attention? Because it's easy to say, oh, if something happened, I'd make it work, or we would have to, I don't know, not do things for a little while, haha, but then when it actually happens and shit hits the fan, what's your plan? So, I don't know. I don't like that happened. I was quite upset and scared when we had to take him in, and luckily everything turned out fine. But I'm really grateful that the money also is not going to be a struggle and a stressor as well, right? Like, I'm really thankful and grateful that we were able to allow him to get all the testing that needed to be done to rule out everything. They were very nice about it, by the way. They brought in the bill and they said, look, I know this is a lot of money. It was originally 13 or I think it was 14 originally. But then we had to get, once we had the diagnosis, we had to get medicine. So it added a little more, but they were basically like, this is what we think is going on, but we have no idea until we do something. So this is what we recommend you do, which was the blood work and the x-rays. They said, you do not have to do this. You do not have to have us do this. You can leave here today with just the emergency room bill for, like, coming in and getting looked at, which I think was $190. They said, you can leave right now. This is how much you would owe. This is what we suggest you do. You are free to take this and try to get an appointment with like your primary care vet because it would be less expensive, and see how much they would cost you. If you have pet insurance, you know, that would be different, but they were like, you can do this, you do not have to do this. They also did have loans available there that you could apply for and get to pay for something like this. I didn't take that path, so I don't know what all that includes. I don't know how much the interest rate would have been or anything like that, but there were other options there on site at the location. And like I said, they were not pressuring about doing it because it was so much money, but they did say, like, something is wrong. You do need to do something. These are your options. It doesn't have to be all of this money with us right now. But because I was in this financial place, I was able to be like, whatever you need to do it, and do it now. And that felt empowering to me, to be like, I know the right thing to do and I'm able to do it. But there were other options there if that wasn't possible. I've been kind of rambly. Because this is emergency fund restock, I'm not going to count this as savings this week because we did spend it. So we're not gaining any net worth. We're just trying to make it back. So thank you all so much for being here this week. Like I said, he's totally fine now. He's past everything. So the situation is recovered. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Have a great week. I will see you next week to close this up. Tomorrow, we're doing our Transfer Tuesday video. If you're interested in our finances online, you can take a look at that. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, everyone.